I'm almost finishing now, continuing with the same. Filling up the spaces other than the moons. And you can see how the spaces start to create fragment pattern within themselves. Yeah, so that's one more. We can do one more thing with that. All these different variations that we did were inside the triangular grid or the triply grid. We can also try doing that inside a square grid, right? So let us pick up this section and add a square grid here. And do one more variation of the same fragment inside a square grid, right? So again, going to draw kind of bales, the tangle bales first. Right, and then going to insert the moons inside it. Right, yeah. So once we are done with that, time for the moons. Same tangle, now in a square grid. Same fragment, now in a square grid. Adding the moons on both sides of the line. And if you want, you can add something inside, something like a printum. Small little things that you can do to add more value to your fragment. Yeah. So I'm going to go on like this. Slowly ink the moons. Draw a nice printum inside. Yeah. I was missing my printum actually. I've already drawn 4-5 tiles in which I have not used printum, I think. Or probably one of the fragments I did use. I can't do without my printums. My go-to tangle. Yeah. So take your time and slowly do that exercise for all. So this is how the fragment looks like when drawn inside a square, right? So let us move on next to one more fragment that we learned in the previous series, right? So this is, first I will just insert that fragment in a triangle and show you, and then we can go back to inserting it inside the square, right? So the fragment was Again I'm going to add these curved lines on 3 sides and then just draw an angle inside it, right? So this was the fragment basically. Rotate, come up to half and then just draw an angle inside the shape that you have, right? So going to the third side now. It's a bit difficult to rotate here, so I'll try and draw it nicely without rotating. Rotating is very important. Yeah, so this was the fragment that we drew inside square in our previous style, and here I have drawn it inside a triangle. Yeah, you can very well draw it inside a square. So let's pick up another section. Probably we'll draw in this section, but I'm going to divide it further and use a part of the section. Yeah, probably we'll just use one part of the section for that. Yeah, and then again draw those nice curvy borders like veils. Take your time. Right, and then again do that exercise. Yeah, it's difficult to draw from the opposite side, so just feel free and rotate your scrapbook. Yeah, or probably you can draw in one direction, then rotate, draw all in the second direction. That will be faster. Just drawing an angle coming from both sides, lines coming till the center. Right, then you can rotate, draw the second. Delicate looking tangle fragment, looks very dressy, ornamental. Take your time. Slowly do that for all. Yeah, the third one. Probably you need not rotate, or you may. So I'm going to rotate it like this and draw them. Yeah, and the fourth side. So take your time, slowly do that exercise for all the 4 sides. I've also shown you can do that for the triangle also. Yeah, and then the inside, entirely up to you what do you want to do. I'm just going to add an orb and ink the half. You can do anything inside. Yeah, right? So the next fragment that I am going to introduce here, we drew it inside a triangle. That is, we use these hatching inside a triangle. I am now going to do it inside my square, like this, and introduce one small thing, that is one muka from this side, or probably fescue, and one from the other, right? So this is another fragment. So again I am going to introduce that hatching inside my square, whereas we did it inside our triply. This time it is inside the square, and then draw two fescues kissing each other. Yeah, so have fun and just enjoy. Take your time, no hurry. And this fescue would be hidden, I think, here. No need to draw. Again the thatching, some bit visible here, some bit here, the other side, and then fescues kissing each other. Yeah, so I'm just going to do that in this part of my squares. Take your time, enjoy the process. Yeah, so I have finished drawing that fragment. Let us move on to the next fragment that we learned, right? So I'm just going to add few more lines here and add a mix of that fragment and a little variation. So again, going with a square grid, we will do another project where we will explore some different grids other than the square and the spiral and the triangular grid, right? But this session is more about exploring different variations of the same fragments that we learned, right? So here again I'm going to use the fragment. This one we will go with the same here. Yeah, just a small portion visible there. So what I'm going to do here is add a slight C shape, a very small, and then add some auras or cap, add a moon, and then add auras, right? So we did this fragment. Now, small thing that you can do to bring about a variation, let's do the first layer with this one only. Again the C shape in the other direction. Again the moon. And the auras. Again the C shape, not visible here, lines in the opposite direction, right? So this was one fragment. Now you can always replace this moon by a triangular shape, right? So let's do that now. So I'm going to add a triangle here. going to add auras here also. Right? So that's another fragment. Again, I'll show you. Draw the C shape in the other direction. And then the auras. Take your time. And then the triangle. And then aura the triangle. Just like the tangle flukes. Yes, that's another. So I'm just going to add the triangle here. Rest of the space is being hidden. Add the lines and stop here. Right? Again the other direction. Add the triangle. Aura the triangle. Aura the C shape. And that's a fragment, right? So here's one more variation of the same fragment. I added the moon and I just added one aura. Now you can either leave it here or you can add some lines like sun rays. Right? So this is a variation to a simple fragment, moon with one aura only. What I did was added some rays. Right? So even fragments can be played around with. They will give you some idea. They have spaces inside. You can play around with the spaces. You can deviate a little from how they are supposed to be drawn. That's okay. They are suggestions. They are ideas. You can always deviate and create your own variations. Make it your own and innovate, explore. As I keep saying, they are suggestions. They are not hard and fast rules that you have to draw them in that way only, right? So these totally look like a different class of fragments because they are more of line based. I think I'll have to change my pen now. Just add these lines and they become a different fragment. I have a space crunch here, so I'm not rotating much. You can please rotate your scrapbook as per your comfort, your hand position. Please feel free to do that. Right? Auras, moon, another aura, and some rays. That's it, we are done. Right? So that's another about 3 fragments that we have tried, drawn, varied, right? So let's get to another space, small little space left here. You can either go with the same, I'm sorry, what pen did I use? There is a triangular space here. Again, you can use the same fragment in a triangle. Right? Then we have some more spaces left. So let's use another fragment that we learned that day, and that is some fragments in circles that we learned, right? So let's draw some orbs now. Right, and I'm going to insert those fragments inside the orbs. The spaces can also be used for those fragments. Right, so this is how I converted that space. Here is a triangle. Here is another triangle, nice loop here, another triangle here, right? So we have some spaces here. I'm going to add a square grid here. Right? So let's move on to the next fragment that we learned. One of the fragments that we learned, it was this fragment. Yeah. We actually drew a C shape, and then we drew a moon, we added an aura. Right? We filled up this space with aura, but I am not going to fill up that space with aura. I am going to deviate a little. And then we added some lines here and some V shapes here, like this. Added some aura inside the V shape, some bold lines, some thin lines, like this. This space, instead of adding aura, I'm just going to add a flower, add some petal shapes, and create a variation. Right? So let's do that now.